Every day, somewhere in the world, a man in his 60s wakes up and notices that getting out of bed takes a little more effort than it once did. A woman in her 70s walks into a room and momentarily forgets why she came there. A grandfather bends down to pick up his grandchild and feels a slight stiffness in his knees. A retired teacher struggles to read the fine print on a restaurant menu. A grandmother finds herself feeling tired long before the day is over. None of these moments seem dramatic. In fact, they are so common that most people hardly give them a second thought. They simply call it aging. And for generations, aging was viewed as a one-way journey, a gradual process of losing strength, losing energy, losing memory, losing resilience, losing pieces of ourselves 1 year at a time. But what if that story is incomplete? What if growing older does not automatically mean growing weaker? What if many of the changes we associate with aging are influenced by something far more powerful than most people realize? Something so ordinary that it sits on kitchen tables around the world every single morning. Food. For decades, scientists have studied the remarkable relationship between nutrition and aging. What they discovered changed the conversation completely. The body does not stop responding to nourishment after 60. It does not stop repairing itself after 70. And it certainly does not stop adapting after 80. In fact, many of the systems most affected by aging continue responding to nutritional support throughout life. Muscles, bones, brain cells, eyes, the immune system, even the tiny power plants inside our cells. All of them depend on one thing: the raw materials we provide every day. And among all the foods researchers have examined over the years, one continues to appear again and again in discussions about healthy aging. Not because it is exotic, not because it is expensive, not because it is fashionable, but because it is remarkably efficient. The egg. Simple, familiar, often overlooked. Yet hidden beneath its shell is one of nature's most concentrated packages of nutrition. For centuries, eggs have been part of the human diet. Long before scientists understood protein, long before anyone had heard the words antioxidants, amino acids, or vitamin D, people recognized eggs as nourishing, as sustaining, as satisfying. But only recently have researchers begun uncovering the extraordinary complexity of what an egg actually contains. Inside a single egg are nutrients that support muscle maintenance, nutrients that help the brain communicate, nutrients that contribute to healthy vision, nutrients involved in energy production, nutrients that support the body's natural defenses. It is a combination so unique that many nutrition experts consider eggs one of the most complete foods available. Yet for years, many older adults avoided them. Some worried about cholesterol. Others feared they were unhealthy. As a result, millions of people removed eggs from their diets without ever realizing what they might be giving up. Today, however, the scientific conversation looks very different. Researchers now understand that the relationship between eggs and health is far more complex and far more encouraging than once believed. And nowhere is this more important than after the age of 60. Because after 60, the body enters a new phase. The rules begin to change. Muscle tissue becomes harder to maintain. Bone density gradually declines. The brain requires more support. Recovery takes longer. The body's nutritional needs evolve. In many ways, the challenge of aging is not simply living longer. It is maintaining the quality of those years, maintaining the ability to move freely, to think clearly, to see the faces of loved ones, to remain active, to remain independent, to continue doing the things that make life meaningful. And this is where our story begins. Not with a miracle cure, not with an expensive supplement, not with a secret discovered in a laboratory, but with a simple daily habit. 2 eggs every day. What happens inside the body when an adult over 60 begins eating 2 eggs daily? What changes inside the muscles, inside the brain, inside the eyes, inside the bones? What happens to energy levels, to immune function, to overall vitality? Can something so simple truly make a difference? Over the next several chapters, we will explore the fascinating science behind this everyday food and discover why many researchers continue to view eggs as one of the most valuable nutritional tools available for healthy aging. We will travel deep inside the human body. We will examine the systems most affected by age, and we will uncover how a small habit, repeated day after day, may help support strength, resilience, and independence in ways many people never expected. Because the story of aging is not merely about decline. It is also a story about adaptation, about nourishment, about possibility, and perhaps, more than anything else, it is a story about the choices we make every single day. Our journey begins with one of the most important battles taking place inside the aging body. A battle that affects strength, mobility, confidence, and independence. A battle against muscle loss. And that is where we turn next. But first, if this is your first time, please hit the like button so YouTube recommends this video to others who needs it, and subscribe so you don't have to miss any of our videos. Now let's proceed. Chapter 1. The Battle Against Muscle Loss. Imagine for a moment that your body has been quietly fighting a battle for years without ever informing you. No alarms, no warning lights, no dramatic symptoms, just a slow and steady struggle taking place beneath the surface. A struggle that affects nearly every adult who lives long enough. A struggle that begins long before most people realize it exists. The battle against muscle loss. For many people, the first signs appear so gradually that they hardly seem worth mentioning. Perhaps carrying groceries feels slightly more difficult. Perhaps climbing stairs requires a little more effort. Perhaps getting up from a favorite chair takes an extra second. Nothing dramatic, nothing alarming, just small changes, tiny adjustments. Subtle reminders that the body is not quite the same as it was 10 or 20 years ago. Most people assume this is simply aging, and to some extent they are correct. But what many do not realize is that these small moments often share a common cause. A hidden biological process known as sarcopenia. The word may sound unfamiliar, but its effects are anything but rare. Sarcopenia is the gradual loss of muscle mass and strength that occurs as we grow older. In fact, researchers estimate that after the age of 60, adults may lose muscle at a noticeably faster rate than they did in earlier decades. The frightening part is that this loss often happens quietly. You do not wake up one morning and discover that half your strength is gone. Instead, the loss occurs little by little, month by month, year by year, until one day the difference becomes impossible to ignore. A bag that once felt light now feels heavy. A walk that once felt easy now feels tiring. Activities that once required little effort now demand more energy than before. And here's the surprising part. Muscle is about much more than strength. When most people hear the word muscle, they think of athletes, bodybuilders, fitness enthusiasts. But muscle plays a far greater role in health than many realize. Muscle helps regulate blood sugar. It supports balance. It protects joints. It contributes to mobility. It helps maintain independence. And perhaps most importantly, it acts as a reserve account for the body. The more muscle we preserve as we age, the better prepared we are to meet life's physical demands. This is one reason scientists have become increasingly focused on preserving muscle tissue later in life. Not because everyone wants to lift heavy weights, but because everyone wants the freedom to move, to stand, to walk, to climb stairs, to travel, to remain independent. And this is where nutrition enters the story. Because while aging may influence muscle loss, nutrition influences how effectively the body responds. Think of your muscles as a house undergoing constant maintenance. Every day, tiny amounts of wear and tear occur. Repairs are needed. Materials must be delivered. Damaged sections must be rebuilt. When we are younger, the body performs these repairs quickly and efficiently. But as we age, the process becomes less responsive. Scientists call this anabolic resistance. In simple terms, aging muscles become harder to stimulate. They require a stronger nutritional signal before rebuilding begins. Imagine trying to start an old engine on a cold morning. The engine still works, it simply requires more effort to get moving. Aging muscles behave in a similar way. The good news is that researchers have identified certain nutrients capable of providing that stronger signal. And one of the most important is protein. Protein is often called the building block of life. Every muscle fiber in your body depends upon it. Every repair process relies upon it. Without adequate protein, maintaining muscle becomes increasingly difficult. This is where eggs begin to reveal one of their most remarkable qualities. Eggs contain high-quality protein. Not just protein, complete protein. That distinction matters. A complete protein contains all 9 essential amino acids the body cannot produce on its own. These amino acids serve as the raw materials for maintenance and repair. Without them, the body struggles to rebuild what time gradually wears away. Among these amino acids, one deserves special attention: leucine. Although few people have heard its name, leucine plays an extraordinary role in muscle health. Scientists often describe leucine as a trigger, a signal, a messenger. When sufficient leucine reaches muscle tissue, it helps activate the body's muscle-building machinery. Imagine a construction site sitting idle. Workers are present, equipment is available, materials are waiting. But nothing happens until the foreman arrives and gives the order to begin. Leucine functions much like that foreman. It helps tell the body that the materials have arrived and the rebuilding process can begin. This is especially important after 60, because aging muscles often require a stronger signal before they respond. 2 eggs provide a meaningful amount of highly bioavailable protein along with valuable leucine. And because eggs are easy to digest and absorb, the body can put those nutrients to work efficiently. Of course, no food performs miracles. Eggs alone cannot eliminate muscle loss. Movement remains essential. Walking, strength training, gardening, stretching. Even simple daily activities help send a message to the body. Stay active, stay strong, stay prepared. Nutrition and movement work together as partners. One provides the materials, the other provides the instruction. And when both are present, the body is far better equipped to preserve strength as the years advance. But perhaps the most encouraging discovery is this: Researchers now understand that muscle can still respond to positive changes well into later life. The body does not suddenly stop adapting at 60, or 70, or even 80. Again and again, studies have shown that older adults can improve strength, improve mobility, and improve physical function when given the right combination of nutrition and activity. That means the story of aging is not simply a story of loss. It is also a story of resilience, of adaptation, of the body's remarkable ability to respond when properly supported. And yet, for many adults, physical strength is not their greatest concern. Many would gladly trade a little muscle for something they consider even more precious: their memory. Because while muscles help us move through life, the brain helps us remember life. It stores our stories, our experiences, the names of those we love, the lessons we've learned. And as researchers continued studying eggs, they discovered that hidden within the yolk was a nutrient that may play an important role in supporting one of the most complex organs in the human body: the brain. And what scientists discovered next may be even more fascinating than the story of muscle itself. Chapter 2: The Brain's Communication Network. There is a moment that almost everyone experiences sooner or later. You walk into a room with a purpose. You know there was something important you intended to do, something specific, something simple. And yet, the moment you arrive, the reason completely disappears. You stand there for a few seconds, thinking, searching, waiting for the answer to return. Eventually, it does. Or sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time, these moments are harmless. In fact, they happen to people of every age. But after 60, they often feel different, because they raise a question many people silently ask themselves: is my memory changing? For some, it happens when they forget a name. For others, it happens when they misplace their glasses. A phone number that once came effortlessly now requires concentration. A word sits on the tip of the tongue, refusing to appear. These experiences can be frustrating, sometimes even frightening, not because of the moment itself, but because of what it represents. Memory is deeply personal. It is more than information. It is identity. It is the collection of experiences that tells us who we are, the people we have loved, the places we have visited, the lessons we have learned, the challenges we have overcome. Memory is the bridge connecting our past to our present. And that is why preserving brain health becomes such an important priority as we grow older. But before we understand how eggs fit into this story, we first need to appreciate something extraordinary about the human brain. The brain is often described as the most complex structure in the known universe. Inside a 3-pound organ lives a network of approximately 86 billion neurons. Each neuron forms connections with thousands of others. Together, they create a communication system of staggering complexity. Every thought, every memory, every decision, every emotion, every conversation, all depend upon messages traveling through this vast network. At this very moment, as you listen to these words, billions of electrical and chemical signals are moving throughout your brain. Some help you understand language. Others process sound. Others connect these ideas with memories from your own life. The brain is constantly communicating, constantly adapting, constantly working, even while you sleep. In many ways, the brain resembles a massive city. A city filled with roads, highways, communication lines, and information moving in every direction. For that city to function properly, messages must travel efficiently. And those messages rely on special chemicals called neurotransmitters. One of the most important neurotransmitters involved in memory is called acetylcholine. Scientists have studied acetylcholine for decades because of its role in learning, memory, attention, and mental performance. Every time you remember a familiar face, recall a childhood event, follow a conversation, or learn something new, acetylcholine is helping make that possible. But here's where the story becomes fascinating. The body cannot produce adequate amounts of acetylcholine without a nutrient called choline. And choline happens to be one of the nutritional treasures hidden inside an egg yolk. For years, choline received far less attention than vitamins and minerals. Many people had never even heard of it. Yet today, researchers recognize it as an essential nutrient for brain health. In fact, eggs are widely considered one of the richest natural sources of dietary choline available. This means that every time someone eats eggs, they are providing their body with one of the raw materials needed for healthy brain communication. Think of it like supplying fuel to a communication network. Without sufficient fuel, messages become harder to deliver. With adequate resources, the system functions more effectively. And while no single nutrient can guarantee perfect memory, scientists agree that providing the brain with the building blocks it needs is an important part of supporting cognitive health throughout life. But choline is only the beginning. Eggs also contain vitamin B12. This nutrient becomes increasingly important as people age. One reason is that the body's ability to absorb vitamin B12 often declines over time. Many older adults are surprised to learn that low B12 levels are relatively common later in life. Yet B12 plays a critical role in maintaining healthy nerve cells and supporting normal neurological function. Without adequate amounts, communication throughout the nervous system may become less efficient. Imagine trying to operate a complex telecommunications network with damaged wiring. Messages can still travel, but not as smoothly, not as effectively. Vitamin B12 helps support the integrity of that system, and eggs provide a natural source of this important nutrient. Researchers have also become increasingly interested in the relationship between nutrition and brain aging. Because while aging is inevitable, scientists now understand that the brain remains remarkably adaptable throughout life. This concept is known as neuroplasticity. In simple terms, neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to form new connections and reorganize itself. For many years, people believed that significant brain development ended early in life. Today, we know that is not true. The brain continues learning, continues adapting, continues changing, even in older adulthood. That is why many people discover new hobbies after retirement, learn new languages, master musical instruments, develop new skills, and continue growing intellectually well into their later years. The brain remains capable of extraordinary things. It simply benefits from proper support. And some of that support begins on the plate. But perhaps the most surprising discovery involves two nutrients we briefly mentioned earlier: lutein and zeaxanthin. Scientists originally became interested in these compounds because of their role in eye health. Yet later research revealed something unexpected. These same nutrients also accumulate in parts of the brain. Researchers continue studying exactly how they influence cognitive function, but their presence highlights an important reality. The brain and the eyes are deeply connected. In many ways, protecting one helps support the other. Which brings us to another challenge many adults face as the years advance. Not memory, not muscle, but vision. Because what good is remembering life's beautiful moments if we struggle to see them clearly? The ability to read a favorite book, to recognize a loved one's face, to enjoy the colors of a sunset, to watch grandchildren grow. These experiences depend on one of the most remarkable organs in the body, the eyes. And as scientists examine the nutrients hidden inside eggs, they discovered that some of the most valuable compounds for vision were hiding in plain sight all along. That story begins in the next chapter. Chapter 3. Protecting the windows to the world. There is a simple truth that many people do not fully appreciate until it begins to change. The ability to see shapes how we experience almost every moment of life. From the moment we wake up in the morning to the moment we close our eyes at night, vision quietly guides us through the world. It helps us recognize the faces of those we love. It allows us to read a favorite book. It helps us drive safely, navigate unfamiliar places, enjoy the beauty of nature, watch grandchildren grow, and preserve countless moments that become treasured memories. Because of this, eyesight is often one of the abilities people fear losing most as they grow older. Not because they are afraid of darkness, but because they value independence, the ability to live life on their own terms. For many adults over 60, changes in vision begin gradually. A restaurant menu becomes harder to read. Night driving feels less comfortable. Small print appears blurrier. Bright lights seem harsher than they once did. Colors may appear slightly less vivid. At first, these changes seem minor, almost insignificant. But over time, they can affect confidence, mobility, and quality of life. And while some vision changes are a natural part of aging, researchers continue discovering that nutrition may play a more important role in eye health than many people realize. To understand why, imagine the eye as one of the most sophisticated cameras ever created. Except unlike any camera built by human hands, the eye can constantly adapt, adjust, repair, and communicate directly with the brain. Every second, light enters through the front of the eye. It passes through specialized structures designed to focus and process visual information. Eventually, that light reaches the retina, a thin layer of highly specialized tissue located at the back of the eye. The retina contains millions of cells that convert light into electrical signals. Those signals then travel to the brain, where they become the images we see. Everything from a sunrise to a family photograph depends upon this remarkable process. Yet, like every part of the body, the eyes face challenges as the years pass. Decades of sunlight exposure, environmental stress, normal wear and tear, and oxidative damage all contribute to the gradual aging of delicate eye tissues. Scientists often compare oxidative stress to rust slowly forming on metal. It doesn't happen overnight. It develops gradually, year after year. The effects accumulate, and over time, they can influence the health of the eyes. This is where some of the most fascinating nutrients found in eggs enter the story. Two compounds in particular have attracted significant scientific attention: lutein and zeaxanthin. Although their names may sound unfamiliar, their importance cannot be overstated. These naturally occurring compounds belong to a family of nutrients known as carotenoids. What makes them remarkable is where they travel after entering the body. Rather than spreading evenly throughout all tissues, lutein and zeaxanthin tend to concentrate in specific areas of the eye, particularly in the macula. The macula is a small but incredibly important part of the retina. It is responsible for central vision, the vision you rely upon when reading, driving, recognizing faces, watching television, or focusing on details. In many ways, the macula serves as the center of visual precision. and researchers believe lutein and zeaxanthin act as natural defenders within this delicate region. Think of them as protective shields. Every day, your eyes are exposed to various forms of light and environmental stress. These compounds help filter certain wavelengths of light and contribute to protecting eye tissues from oxidative damage. One reason eggs are particularly interesting is that the lutein and zeaxanthin they contain appear to be highly bioavailable. In simple terms, the body can absorb and use them efficiently. The healthy fats naturally present in egg yolks help support this absorption process. Nature once again demonstrates its remarkable design. The nutrients are not only present, they are packaged in a way that helps the body utilize them effectively. But the story does not end there. Eggs also provide vitamin A, and vitamin A plays an essential role in maintaining normal vision. For generations, people have associated vitamin A with eye health, and for good reason. This nutrient helps support the functioning of the retina and contributes to the ability to see in low light conditions. Without adequate vitamin A, vision can suffer. It is one of the reasons healthcare professionals continue emphasizing the importance of obtaining sufficient amounts through diet. As scientists continue exploring the relationship between nutrition and vision, one message becomes increasingly clear. The eyes require nourishment just like every other part of the body. They depend upon a steady supply of nutrients to help maintain and protect their delicate structures. And while no single food can guarantee perfect eyesight forever, providing the body with supportive nutrients remains one of the most practical steps people can take. Of course, healthy vision involves more than nutrition alone. Regular eye examinations remain important. Managing blood pressure and blood sugar matters. Protecting the eyes from excessive sunlight is wise. Maintaining overall health contributes significantly to long-term eye function. But nutrition remains one of the foundational pieces of the puzzle, and eggs happen to provide several of the nutrients researchers associate with supporting eye health. Perhaps that explains why this humble food continues appearing in conversations about healthy aging. Again and again, scientists discover nutrients inside eggs that support systems many people worry about most after 60. First, the muscles, then the brain, now the eyes. Yet there is another system that often remains invisible until something goes wrong. A system that quietly supports every step we take, every movement we make, every moment of balance we maintain. The skeleton. Most people rarely think about their bones when they are healthy. But after 60, bone health becomes increasingly important, because maintaining independence requires more than clear vision. It requires a strong foundation, a framework capable of supporting the body through years of movement and activity. And as researchers continued examining the nutritional profile of eggs, they discovered that this simple food may offer valuable support for that foundation as well. The story of strong bones begins next. Chapter 4. The Silent Architecture of Strength. Imagine trying to build a house without a foundation. The walls might stand for a while. The roof might look impressive. The structure might appear strong from a distance. But sooner or later, weaknesses would begin to appear. Cracks would form. Stability would be compromised, and the entire structure would become vulnerable. The human body is no different. Beneath the muscles, beneath the skin, and beneath everything we see lies a framework that supports every movement we make. The skeleton. It is the silent architecture of strength. The hidden structure that allows us to stand, walk, lift, bend, climb, and move confidently through life. Yet, despite its importance, Most people spend very little time thinking about their bones, at least until something happens. A fall, a fracture, a medical examination, a warning from a doctor. Only then do many people realize just how important bone health truly is. For much of our lives, bones seem permanent, unchanging, solid, almost indestructible. But the reality is far more fascinating. Bones are living tissue. At this very moment, while you are listening to this video, your bones are undergoing a continuous process of renewal. Specialized cells are removing old bone tissue. Other cells are replacing it with new bone. This process occurs day and night, year after year, throughout your entire life. In youth and early adulthood, this system operates remarkably efficiently. The body replaces bone as quickly as it removes it. Strength is maintained. Structure is preserved. But as the years pass, the balance begins to shift. Gradually, the rebuilding process slows. The body continues removing old bone, yet replacing that bone becomes more difficult. Over time, density may decrease, strength may diminish, and the skeleton can become more vulnerable. For many adults over 60, this happens quietly, without pain, without symptoms, without warning. In fact, some people do not discover they have weakened bones until a simple fall results in a fracture that might not have occurred years earlier. This is why bone health has become one of the most important topics in modern aging research. Because strong bones are not simply about preventing injuries. They are about preserving independence. Think for a moment about everything you did today. Perhaps you walked across a room, climbed a flight of stairs, carried groceries, reached for something on a shelf. Every one of those actions depended on your skeleton. Without healthy bones, everyday activities become more difficult. Confidence may decline, mobility may decrease, and quality of life can suffer. Fortunately, researchers have learned a great deal about the nutrients that support bone health. Most people immediately think of calcium, and rightly so. Calcium is one of the primary minerals found within bone tissue. It helps provide the strength and structure that bones require. But what many people do not realize is that calcium cannot perform its job alone. Building and maintaining strong bones requires teamwork. Several nutrients must work together. Among the most important is vitamin D. Vitamin D plays a critical role in helping the body absorb and utilize calcium effectively. Without adequate vitamin D, the body struggles to make full use of the calcium it receives. Imagine delivering building materials to a construction site, but having no workers available to unload them. The materials arrive, but they cannot be used efficiently. Vitamin D helps ensure that the body can properly utilize one of its most important building materials. And this is where eggs become especially interesting. Because eggs are one of the relatively few natural food sources that contain vitamin D. While they may not provide all the vitamin D a person needs, they contribute valuable amounts that support overall nutritional intake. For older adults, every source matters, especially since vitamin D deficiency becomes more common with age. Many people spend less time outdoors. The skin becomes less efficient at producing vitamin D from sunlight, and certain medical conditions may further complicate matters. This makes dietary sources increasingly important. But vitamin D is only part of the story. Eggs also contain phosphorus. Although phosphorus receives far less attention than calcium, it is equally important for bone structure. In fact, calcium and phosphorus work together within the skeleton. Together, they help create the mineral framework that gives bones their strength. Without adequate phosphorus, maintaining healthy bones becomes far more difficult. Nature rarely relies on a single nutrient. Instead, it creates systems. And the skeletal system is a perfect example of that principle. Then, there is another nutrient we discussed earlier: protein. Many people associate protein exclusively with muscles. But scientists now understand that protein also plays an important role in bone health. Bones contain a structural protein matrix that helps provide flexibility and resilience. Without sufficient protein, maintaining healthy bone tissue becomes more challenging. This means that every time someone eats 2 eggs, they are providing their body with a combination of nutrients that support multiple aspects of skeletal health: protein, vitamin D, phosphorus, and several additional micronutrients working together behind the scenes. One of the most fascinating aspects of the human body is that no system operates in isolation. Strong bones support strong muscles. Strong muscles help protect bones. Together, they contribute to balance and mobility. And mobility influences nearly every aspect of healthy aging. This is why researchers increasingly emphasize the importance of preserving both muscle mass and bone density as we grow older. Because together, they form the foundation of physical independence. Of course, nutrition is only one part of the equation. Movement remains essential. Walking, resistance exercises, gardening, dancing. Even regular daily activities send important signals to the skeleton. Those signals tell the body that strong bones are still needed. The body responds accordingly. Use it, and it works to preserve it. Ignore it, and the system gradually weakens. The encouraging news is that the body remains remarkably responsive throughout life. Even in later years, positive lifestyle changes can support bone health and physical function. This reminds us once again that aging is not simply about decline. It is also about adaptation. The body continues responding to the choices we make, and those choices matter. Yet even the strongest muscles and healthiest bones cannot carry us very far without something else: energy. Because what good is strength if we constantly feel exhausted? What good is mobility if fatigue keeps us from enjoying life? For many adults over 60, low energy becomes one of the most frustrating challenges of aging. The afternoon slump, the unexplained tiredness, the feeling that everyday activities require more effort than they once did. Many assume this is simply the price of growing older. But researchers have discovered that nutrition may play a larger role than many people realize. And once again, eggs appear to be part of the story. So why do so many seniors feel tired? And what happens inside the body when 2 eggs become part of a daily routine? That is where our journey takes us next. Chapter 5. Why many seniors feel tired. There is a question that millions of adults ask themselves every day. Sometimes they ask it aloud. Sometimes they keep it to themselves. But the question remains the same. Why am I so tired? Not exhausted, not sick, just tired. The kind of tiredness that seems to appear without explanation. The kind that slowly settles into everyday life. The afternoon energy crash. The lack of motivation. The feeling that simple tasks require more effort than they once did. For many people over 60, this experience becomes increasingly familiar. A day that once felt easy now feels demanding. Activities that once brought excitement now require planning. Energy becomes something to manage rather than something to enjoy. And because this happens so frequently, many people assume it is simply a normal part of aging. But is it? The answer is more complicated than many realize. The truth is that aging does influence energy levels. The body changes. Hormones shift. Recovery slows. Sleep patterns evolve. But researchers have also discovered that nutrition often plays a much larger role than people expect. In fact, some of the fatigue experienced by older adults may have less to do with age itself and more to do with what the body is or isn't receiving every day. To understand why, imagine for a moment that your body is a city, a vast city operating 24 hours a day. Every second, millions of tasks are being performed. Lights are on, machines are running, messages are being delivered, repairs are being completed. Nothing stops. Nothing rests completely, even while you sleep. Now imagine what would happen if that city began receiving less fuel, less maintenance, fewer resources. The city would continue functioning, but not as efficiently. Performance would gradually decline. Energy would become harder to maintain. The human body works in much the same way. Every heartbeat requires energy. Every breath requires energy. Every thought requires energy. Every step requires energy. And deep inside nearly every cell of the body are tiny structures responsible for producing that energy. Scientists call them mitochondria. Mitochondria are often referred to as the powerhouses of the cell. Their job is to convert nutrients from food into usable energy. Without them, life would not be possible. Every movement you make today depends upon trillions of mitochondria doing their jobs. Yet, like many biological systems, mitochondria change as we age. Some become less efficient. Others produce energy less effectively. The result is something many older adults immediately recognize. The body still works, but it seems to require more effort to accomplish the same tasks. This is one reason energy levels often feel different after 60. But here is where nutrition becomes incredibly important. Because mitochondria cannot create energy out of nothing. They depend on nutrients. And among the nutrients required for healthy energy production are several found naturally in eggs. One of these is vitamin B12. We briefly discussed vitamin B12 in the chapter on brain health, but its role extends far beyond memory and nerve function. Vitamin B12 helps support the body's ability to convert food into usable energy. Without adequate amounts, people may experience fatigue, weakness, and reduced stamina. This is particularly important because vitamin B12 deficiency becomes more common with age. Many adults are unaware that their levels have gradually declined over time. Eggs provide a natural dietary source of this important nutrient. But B12 is not alone. Eggs also contain riboflavin, sometimes known as vitamin B2. Although it rarely receives much attention, riboflavin plays a critical role in helping cells produce energy. Think of it as one of the many workers helping keep the power plants running smoothly. Without enough support, efficiency suffers. With adequate resources, the system performs more effectively. Then there is another factor that influences energy in a surprisingly powerful way: blood sugar stability. Many breakfast foods are high in refined carbohydrates and added sugars. Sweet pastries, sugary cereals, processed baked goods. These foods often create a rapid rise in blood sugar. At first, this can feel energizing. The body receives a quick burst of fuel. But what goes up quickly often comes down quickly. A few hours later, blood sugar may fall. Hunger returns, energy drops, and the cycle begins again. This pattern can leave people feeling tired, hungry, and frustrated. Protein-rich foods behave differently. Because protein digests more slowly, it helps promote a steadier release of energy. Many people find that breakfasts containing eggs help them stay satisfied longer and avoid dramatic energy fluctuations throughout the morning. The result is not necessarily an explosion of energy. Instead, it is something many older adults value even more: consistency, stable energy, fewer crashes, less hunger, a greater sense of control. And there is another connection worth mentioning: muscle tissue. As we learned in Chapter 1, muscles are not only important for strength, they also play a role in metabolism. The more muscle we preserve, the better equipped the body becomes to regulate energy and blood sugar. This means that supporting muscle health today may help support energy tomorrow. Once again, we see how everything in the body is connected. Muscles influence energy. Energy influences activity. Activity influences bone health. Bone health influences mobility. And mobility influences independence. Nothing operates in isolation. This interconnectedness is one of the reasons researchers have become so interested in nutrient-dense foods like eggs. Because they provide support for multiple systems simultaneously, not just one. And for adults over 60, that matters. Because healthy aging is not about optimizing a single organ. It is about supporting the entire body. Yet perhaps the most encouraging lesson is this: feeling tired is not always an inevitable consequence of aging. Sometimes it is a signal, a message from the body that it needs better support, better sleep, better movement, better hydration, better nutrition. When those needs are addressed, many people discover they have more vitality than they expected. Not because they have become younger, but because they have become better nourished. And vitality matters, because energy is what allows us to participate in life, to travel, to socialize, to volunteer, to spend time with family, to pursue hobbies, to remain engaged with the world around us. But no matter how strong, sharp, or energetic we feel, another system remains quietly at work behind the scenes. A system that protects every other system. A system that stands guard day and night. The immune system. As we grow older, this remarkable defense network faces challenges of its own. And scientists have discovered that some of the nutrients found in eggs may help support the body's natural defenses in ways many people never expected. That story awaits us in the next chapter. Chapter 6. The Immune Advantage. Imagine for a moment that your body is a nation. A vast and complex nation with trillions of citizens. Every city must be protected. Every border must be monitored. Every threat must be identified and dealt with before it causes harm. Now imagine that this nation never sleeps. Not for a minute. Not for a second. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That is exactly how your immune system operates. While you work, while you relax, while you sleep, while you watch this video. An invisible army is constantly patrolling your body, searching for threats, identifying invaders, repairing damage, and helping maintain order. Most of the time, this extraordinary system performs its duties so effectively that we barely notice it exists. A small cut heals. A seasonal virus comes and goes. A wound repairs itself. Life continues normally. The immune system quietly does its job. Yet, like every system in the body, the immune system changes with age. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but gradually. Scientists sometimes use the term immunosenescence to describe the natural aging of the immune system. The word may sound complicated, but the concept is simple. As we grow older, certain parts of the immune system become less responsive. Recovery may take longer. The body's response to challenges may become less efficient. and maintaining resilience becomes increasingly important. This does not mean that older adults cannot enjoy excellent health. Far from it. Many people remain healthy, active, and vibrant well into their 80s and 90s. But it does mean that supporting the immune system becomes an increasingly valuable part of healthy aging. And once again, nutrition enters the story. Because every immune cell in your body requires fuel. Every defense mechanism requires resources. Every repair process depends on raw materials. Without proper nourishment, even the most sophisticated defense system will struggle to perform at its best. Think about a military force. The soldiers may be highly trained. The commanders may be highly skilled. But without food, supplies, communication systems, and equipment, their effectiveness will decline. The immune system operates in much the same way. It depends on nutritional support. And some of that support can come from foods as simple as eggs. One of the most important nutrients found in eggs is selenium. Although selenium is needed only in small amounts, its role inside the body is surprisingly significant. Scientists classify selenium as a trace mineral. But don't let the word trace fool you. Small amounts can have profound effects. Selenium contributes to antioxidant defenses throughout the body. To understand why this matters, imagine a busy city filled with millions of vehicles. Every day, those vehicles produce exhaust. The activity keeps the city running, but it also creates waste. The human body faces a similar challenge. Normal metabolism produces unstable molecules known as free radicals. These molecules are a natural byproduct of life. In moderate amounts, they are manageable. But when they accumulate excessively, they can contribute to cellular damage. This is where antioxidants become important. They help maintain balance, helping protect cells from excessive oxidative stress. Selenium plays a role in this protective system, and eggs provide a natural source of it. But selenium is only one piece of the puzzle. Eggs also contain vitamin A. Many people associate vitamin A with vision, and as we discussed in the previous chapter, it certainly contributes to eye health. Yet vitamin A also plays a crucial role in supporting the body's protective barriers. These barriers include the skin and the tissues lining the respiratory and digestive systems. Think of them as the walls surrounding a city. Strong walls make it harder for threats to enter. Healthy tissues provide one of the body's first lines of defense. Vitamin A helps support the maintenance of these protective surfaces. Another important contribution comes from protein. When people think about protein, they often think about muscles. But protein is involved in countless processes throughout the body, including immune function. Many of the molecules the immune system relies upon are built from amino acids. Without adequate protein intake, maintaining these systems becomes more difficult. This is one reason why sufficient protein becomes increasingly important with age. And as we've already discovered, eggs provide high-quality, complete protein that the body can utilize efficiently. Once again, we see a recurring theme. The nutrients inside eggs do not support just one system. They support many. Muscles, brain function, vision, bone health, energy production, and now, immune resilience. It is almost as though nature designed this food to serve multiple purposes at the same time. And perhaps that is why eggs have remained a dietary staple across so many cultures for thousands of years. Yet there is something even more important to understand. The immune system does not work alone. In fact, no system in the body works alone. A healthy immune system depends upon adequate sleep, physical activity, stress management, hydration, social connection, and proper nutrition. Everything is connected. When one system improves, others often benefit as well. Strong muscles support mobility. Mobility encourages activity. Activity supports circulation. Good circulation supports healing. Healing supports resilience. The body operates as an integrated whole. This may be one of the most important lessons of healthy aging. The goal is not simply to optimize one part of the body. The goal is to support the entire system. And when multiple systems begin functioning well together, something remarkable happens. Life becomes easier. Movement feels more natural. Recovery becomes more efficient. Confidence grows. Independence becomes easier to maintain. Which brings us to perhaps the most important question of all. After everything we've discussed, muscles, memory, vision, bones, energy, and immune health, what is the ultimate benefit? What is the one outcome that all these advantages work together to support? The answer has very little to do with laboratory tests. It has very little to do with numbers. And it has everything to do with how life is actually lived. Because the greatest benefit of eating 2 eggs a day after 60 may not be found inside any single organ. It may be found in something much bigger. The ability to remain active, independent, confident, and fully engaged in the people and experiences that make life worth living. That is the story of our next and final chapter. Chapter 7. The real benefit nobody talks about. Throughout this journey, we have traveled through the human body. We have explored muscles and the battle against age-related decline. We have examined the brain and the intricate network that supports memory and learning. We have looked into the eyes and the remarkable systems that help us experience the world around us. We have discussed bones, energy, and the immune system. Each chapter has revealed something important. Each has shown how nutrition can influence the aging process. And each has highlighted a different way that 2 simple eggs may support health after 60. But now we arrive at the most important question of all. Why does any of this matter? Why do stronger muscles matter? Why does sharper thinking matter? Why is healthy vision important? Why should we care about stronger bones, stable energy, or a resilient immune system? The answer is surprisingly simple. Because none of these things are the ultimate goal. They're tools. And those tools help support something far more valuable. The ability to continue living life on your own terms. For most people, healthy aging is not about becoming younger. It is not about turning back the clock. It is not about chasing the body they had at 25. What most people truly want is much more practical. They want to remain independent. They want to remain capable. They want to continue doing the things they love. Think about the moments that bring meaning to life. Walking through a garden on a beautiful morning, attending a family gathering, holding a grandchild, traveling to a favorite destination, going to church, meeting friends for lunch, reading a book, working on a hobby, taking a walk at sunset. These moments may seem ordinary, but together they form the foundation of a rich and fulfilling life. And every one of them depends upon health. Not perfect health, but sufficient health. Enough strength to move comfortably, enough energy to stay engaged, enough vision to appreciate what is around us, enough mental clarity to enjoy conversations and create new memories. This is where all the benefits we've discussed begin to converge. The protein in eggs helps support muscle maintenance. Muscles support movement. Movement supports independence. The choline in eggs helps support brain function. Brain function supports communication, learning, and memory. The lutein and zeaxanthin in eggs help support eye health. Vision supports confidence and daily living. The vitamin D and phosphorus help support bone health. Healthy bones help support mobility and stability. The B vitamins help support energy production. Energy helps us remain active and engaged. The selenium and other nutrients help support immune function. Immune health helps support resilience and recovery. Individually, each benefit matters, but together, they create something much more powerful. They support quality of life, and quality of life is one of the most important measures of healthy aging. Scientists sometimes use a term called health span. Many people are familiar with lifespan. Lifespan refers to how long a person lives. Health span refers to how long a person remains healthy, active, and independent during that life. And for many older adults, health span may be even more important than lifespan itself. After all, the goal is not simply to add years to life. The goal is to add life to years, to remain engaged with family, to remain connected with friends, to continue exploring interests, to continue contributing, to continue enjoying the experiences that make each day meaningful. This is why small daily habits matter so much. Healthy aging rarely happens because of one dramatic decision. It happens because of hundreds of small decisions repeated consistently over time. The choice to take a walk, the choice to stay socially connected, the choice to get adequate sleep, the choice to stay hydrated, the choice to eat nourishing foods. None of these habits seem extraordinary on their own. Yet together, they shape the future. They influence how we feel, how we move, how we think, and how we live. 2 eggs a day will not stop the aging process. No food can do that. They are not a miracle cure. They are not a magic solution. And they are not a substitute for medical care or a healthy lifestyle. But they can be part of a larger strategy. A strategy focused on supporting the body rather than merely reacting to decline. A strategy focused on nourishment rather than deprivation. A strategy focused on preserving the abilities that matter most. And perhaps that is the most encouraging lesson of all. Because aging is not simply a story of loss. It is also a story of adaptation, of resilience, of the body's remarkable ability to respond to support. Again and again, researchers discover that older adults are capable of maintaining strength, improving physical function, enhancing quality of life, and remaining active far longer than previous generations once believed possible. The body continues listening, continues adapting, continues responding, even after 60, even after 70, even after 80. The choices we make still matter. And perhaps that is why the humble egg deserves a place in this conversation. Not because it is perfect, not because it is magical, but because it represents something larger. A simple, affordable, accessible food that provides meaningful nutritional support to many of the systems most affected by aging. A small daily habit, repeated consistently, supporting the body one day at a time. And when enough of those days accumulate, something remarkable begins to happen. Not necessarily a longer life, but often a better one. And that may be the most valuable benefit of all. But before we finish our journey, there is one final message worth sharing. A message that brings together everything we have learned. A reminder about aging, nutrition, and the choices that shape our future. And that message awaits us in our conclusion. As we reach the end of this journey, it is worth taking a moment to reflect on something remarkable. We began with a simple question. What happens to your body when you eat 2 eggs every day after 60? At first, the question seemed almost too simple. After all, how much difference could one food possibly make? Yet as we explored the science, the answer became far more fascinating than many people might expect. Because this story was never really about eggs. Not entirely. It was about the aging body. It was about the challenges that come with growing older. The gradual loss of muscle, the changes in memory, the concerns about vision, the decline in bone density, the struggle to maintain energy, the need to support the immune system. And perhaps most importantly, the desire to remain independent, to remain capable, to continue living life fully. Again and again, we discovered that the body is far more adaptable than many people realize, even after 60, even after 70, even after 80. The body continues responding to the choices we make. It continues rebuilding, repairing, adjusting, and adapting. That is one of the most encouraging discoveries in modern health science. Aging does not mean the body has stopped listening. It simply means the body needs better support. And that support often begins with everyday habits. The foods we eat, the activities we choose, the routines we maintain, the decisions we repeat, day after day, week after week, year after year. Because health is rarely built in a single moment. It is built gradually, quietly, almost invisibly, until one day the results become impossible to ignore. A stronger step, a sharper memory, more stable energy, greater confidence, a better quality of life. When people think about healthy aging, they often imagine dramatic solutions, expensive treatments, complicated programs, revolutionary breakthroughs. But sometimes, the most powerful changes come from the simplest habits. A daily walk, a good night's sleep, meaningful relationships, a balanced diet. And yes, for many people, 2 eggs. Not because eggs are magical, not because they are perfect, but because they provide valuable nutrients that help support many of the systems we've discussed throughout this documentary. The muscles that help us move, the brain that helps us remember, the eyes that help us see, the bones that support us, the energy systems that keep us active, and the immune system that helps protect us. Together, these systems influence something that matters deeply to almost everyone: the ability to live independently, the ability to participate in life, the ability to enjoy the people and experiences we care about most. And perhaps that is the real lesson here. Healthy aging is not about fighting time. It is about working with the body, supporting it, respecting it, giving it the resources it needs to perform at its best. Because while none of us can stop the clock, we can influence how we experience the years ahead. We can choose habits that support strength instead of weakness, vitality instead of decline, possibility instead of limitation. And those choices matter, more than most people realize. So as you leave this video, consider your own daily habits. Consider the small choices you make every morning. Because those choices are not just shaping today, they are helping shape tomorrow. One meal, one walk, one decision at a time. And now we'd love to hear from you. How old are you? And how often do you eat eggs? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story may encourage someone else who is also looking for practical ways to support healthy aging. If you found this video helpful, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you know a parent, grandparent, spouse, friend, or loved one over 60 who may benefit from this information, consider sharing this video with them. Because knowledge becomes more valuable when it is shared. Thank you for spending this time with us. Take care of yourself. Stay active. Stay curious. Stay hopeful. And remember, the goal is not simply to add years to your life. The goal is to add life to your years. The information presented in this video is intended for educational and informational purposes only, and should not be considered medical advice, diagnosis, treatment, or a substitute for professional healthcare guidance. The content discussed is based on general nutrition research, scientific studies, and current understanding of healthy aging. Individual health needs can vary significantly depending on age, medical history, medications, allergies, lifestyle factors, and existing health conditions. While eggs can be a nutritious part of a balanced diet for many people, they may not be suitable for everyone. Individuals with specific medical conditions, food allergies, dietary restrictions, or concerns about cholesterol, heart health, diabetes, kidney disease, or other health conditions should consult their physician or qualified healthcare professional before making significant dietary changes. The benefits discussed in this video are intended to describe potential health-supporting properties of nutrients found in eggs and should not be interpreted as guaranteed results. No single food can prevent, treat, cure, or eliminate disease. Nor can any food replace a healthy lifestyle, regular physical activity, proper medical care, or prescribed treatment plans. Always seek the advice of your doctor or another qualified healthcare provider regarding any questions you may have about your health, nutrition, or medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay seeking it because of information presented in this video. By watching this content, you acknowledge that the creators are providing general educational information and are not establishing a doctor-patient relationship. Thank you for watching, and we encourage you to make informed health decisions in partnership with your healthcare professionals. Stay healthy, stay informed, and take good care of yourself. Until then, see you on our next video.